Everything you think you know about how you experience the world, yeah, it's an illusion. I know, that is a massive claim to start with, but today we are completely tearing down that illusion. I'm going to show you how belief is not some woo-woo magical thinking concept, not at all. It is actually a highly engineered, deeply biological tool that physically alters the reality you step into every single day. Think about it like this. Right now, literally in this exact second, your senses are being utterly bombarded with a staggering 11 million bits of raw data. It's coming from everywhere. The temperature of the room you're in, the hum of the lights, the feeling of the chair beneath you. Processing that much data is the equivalent of seeing every single word of the massive novel War and Peace flash right before your eyes twice every single second. Insane, right? But your conscious mind? It can only handle a measly 50 bits per second. 50 out of 11 million. You are literally missing almost everything that is happening around you. It's like you're trying to look at the entire universe through a tiny little keyhole. Which brings us to part one. You live in a simulation. Because your brain has to throw away millions of bits of data every second. It has to guess. It has to predict what's out there. So you are actually experiencing a custom-built simulation generated entirely by your beliefs. And this brilliantly illustrates why today's explainer is so absolutely crucial. We are drawing from Nir Eyal's fascinating new book, Beyond Belief. Think of this as me handing you the cheat codes to hack your own brain. Because if your beliefs are designing your simulation, well, changing them is exactly how you stop limiting yourself. Let's look at how that actually works in part two, the experience loop explained. Think about the beverage brand Liquid Death for a second. They sell plain water, but in this menacing can with a dripping skull on it. People drink it and actually report feeling this thrill of rebellion. Why is that? It's because provocative marketing creates a mental simulation long before you even touch the can. Nir calls this the experience loop. Step one, your brain believes a narrative, right? Like, this water is edgy. Step two, your body physically anticipates it. Step three, you actually feel it, interpreting those physical sensations entirely through your expectations. And finally, step four, you confirm that initial belief. The simulation just became your reality. So the really crucial point here is that this loop, it's running all the time, triggered by your everyday environment. Do you wake up dreading Monday mornings? You're setting a simulation that practically guarantees misery. Do you lead a team at work? The evocative language you use, like asking people to comply with the productivity initiative versus inviting them to become masters of their time, literally designs the simulation your employees step into. You really are the architect of your reality. So let's push the boundaries in part three, rewiring the brain on pain. If our beliefs shape everyday things like what we buy or how we feel at work, could this exact same biological mechanism stretch our physical boundaries? Well, meet Simon. Simon suffered from debilitating chronic pain. We're talking stuck in bed in excruciating agony. Desperate for a fix, he spent an absolute fortune, over $20,000 on specialized physical therapy. 20 grand, and it completely failed. He just assumed his body was permanently broken. But then, Simon discovered a radically different approach. Instead of trying to fix his body, he changed his beliefs using techniques found in pain reprocessing therapy. He literally learned to observe his bodily sensations without slapping those catastrophic labels on them. He practiced something called safety reappraisal, which is basically finding evidence that the pain wasn't actually tissue damage. He even used positive affect, literally using humor to tell his brain the pain wasn't dangerous. And get this, within just 4 months, Simon was pain-free. He stopped that $20,000 merry-go-round simply by swapping out his old beliefs. And hey, if you think that's incredible, consider a case study that came out of a Paris sleep laboratory. There's a Parkinson's patient who normally struggled to speak above a tiny whisper and could barely lift everyday objects. But while he was asleep, suddenly he bellowed, "Crocodile! Crocodile!" at the top of his lungs, lifted a heavy bedside table right over his head, and aggressively fought off imaginary reptiles. His waking beliefs severely limited him, but when a dream bypassed those daily expectations, his body accessed shocking hidden potential. Now let's clarify a few things in part 4, debunking mind over matter myths. Before we go any further, I have to raise a massive red flag here. When people hear stories about Simon or the crocodile dream, they often fall into what we call the magical thinking trap. You know the myth that pure thought just magically bypasses biology to manifest perfect health or crazy wealth. But real science shows those mind over matter studies often fail to replicate under scrutiny.
The proven science shows that your expectations do not bypass biology. They trigger it. They genuinely unlock motivation, they direct your hyper-focused attention, and they trigger physiological responses. It's exactly why placebos actually release natural painkillers in the brain. It's biology, not magic.
Which leads us to part 5, the power of mental contrasting. So how do we correctly apply this science without falling into the magic trap? Enter a brilliantly practical tool called mental contrasting. This is the exact opposite of just sitting around imagining a perfect fantasy future. Mental contrasting forces you to proactively visualize your desired target while simultaneously staring right at the personal obstacles in your way. So if your goal is going to the gym, but your barrier is that you're always totally exhausted after work, holding both of those things in your mind makes your brain automatically start linking the challenge with a potential solution. The obstacle literally becomes a prompt for action.
This tool is amazing because it allows us to bridge the gap and shift our entire worldview. A limiting belief says, hey, when something is difficult, it means I'm not cut out for it. But when you use mental contrasting and rewrite your simulation, you adopt a liberating belief. You start saying, actually, difficulty is evidence of growth. Struggle means I'm getting better.
But changing a belief isn't just a mental exercise. Nir Eyal actually spoke with an Orthodox rabbi named Mordecai, who pointed to this ancient concept, na'aseh v'nishma, which translates to we will do and we will hear. What he explained is that you cannot simply think your way into a new reality. You have to act first. The physical practice, the actual action, is what reinforces the neural pathways in your brain, regardless of what your initial level of faith is. Practice first and the understanding follows. Let's turn this into some short, tight bundles of action that you can take right now to practice your agency. Next time you're tempted by some expensive new gadget, use financial expert Paco de Leon's buy list. Just write the item down and force yourself to wait 2 weeks to prove that you control your impulses. Or establish a 10-minute morning ritual of simply focusing on your breath. Or just take a daily 10-minute walk. Psychologists call these optimal challenges. They are small, totally doable wins that give your brain undeniable, physical proof that your effort actually matters. Which leaves me with a final question for you. What 10-minute optimal challenge are you going to make visible today? How will you leave a physical trace of what you've learned here to prove to yourself that you're in charge? Remember, your beliefs are constantly building the simulation you live in. So start acting on those beliefs today. Prove to your brain that you are in charge and become the true architect of your reality. Thanks for hanging out, and I'll see you in the next explainer.